We're going to start this puppy up. Clear? Prop?
And welcome back to Tip of the Week, Building the Affordaplane. This week we tackle the challenge of mounting an engine to the front nose here. Now the engine we've selected, as we mentioned in past videos, is the Polini 202, which I have sitting in the box. And of course we need to find a way to mount this thing, and I'll attempt to lift it. Why don't I stand up? Here we go. And we need to mount this like right here. So what is the best way to do that and have a reliable, vibration-free mount to make that possible? Well, stay tuned. What we're looking at here are the simple components to build the engine mount to actually install this engine. Now you will notice the ring. This came from Polini, and there's a small hardware kit associated with it for its mounting bumpers. But then the rest of this are standard components we've already used in the aircraft build so far. This design was because of one of our patron members, Oscar Zuniga, who created and designed this mount, and you'll see it come to life in front of your eyes here. Basically 6 stainless steel brackets, U-brackets that we've used all along, a few feet of 1-inch tubing, 58 thousandths that we've used before, and then some aluminum angles. This is 2 by 2 by 1/4 inch, and the same with these pieces here, and then 1.5 by 1.5 by 1/8 inch angle, and then some miscellaneous bolts. And all of this will allow us to create a very reliable, sturdy mount for the engine. So let's get started putting it together.
Now here's the engine mounting ring that came with the Polini engine. Actually, you had to purchase it separately, but it's just a thin ring, and this will go between the aircraft and the engine. And this is the hardware that came with the ring. This side is for mounting the ring to the aircraft, and this side is for mounting the engine to the ring. And basically it's not very difficult. Here's by assembling these components, we get these nice standoffs. The aircraft will be on this side, and then this standoff, and then a rubber bushing, and a cap screw at the end. So I need to continue putting 6 more of these. There's a total of 7 of these, and that's what these guys are down here. And it doesn't take too long. And then later, when we hang the engine onto the ring, we'll put these rubber mounts together. So that part has been engineered out. The part we're going to have to deal with, of course, is mounting this ring by way of these standoffs onto the aircraft. So I'm going to go ahead and finish installing the standoffs on the ring. We're at the forward nose of our Affordaplane. And notice I have removed the 2 forward bolts, and that's what's really nice about using bolts. You can take them out. We're not going to drill any new holes. And our first piece for our mount is this 2-inch by 2-inch, 1/4 inch thick aluminum angle, 60-61 of course, and the length is 2 3/4 inches. And this is going to be placed over the locations of these 2 holes, and we want to keep it nice and even across the top. And an easy way to do that is to lay some flat piece across the top and clamp it together. I have my trusty clamp. Clamp it anywhere on there. And this keeps it nice and flat. We want to bring it up so that the edge is even with the very front. And our goal is to mark our piece at the exact location of these two holes. Easiest way to do that is to take a punch like this with a very sharp point. You can get these at Harbor Freight. And feed it through the existing hole. And when it comes out, we're going to whack it with a hammer, and it will mark very precisely, the location where we want to drill that hole. So I have this in place. I'm going to whack it with a hammer and get our mark. I'm going to do that for both of my holes, and then I can drill this out to the same size. Now I'll do the exact same thing with another piece of the same size on the other side and knock the pin the opposite direction so I can mark the two holes. And that way I'll have two of these on either side precisely lined up with the holes, and then can attach these with an appropriate bolt to hold them in place. Here's the mark you get from that punch. And here are the two angles bolted in place. Curved off the corners just so people wouldn't get poked. Next, we're going to take a piece of 11-inch 2x2 aluminum angle. This is 1/4 inch thick, and we're going to lay that on top of our nose. We are looking down on top of our nose, and I've drawn a line down the middle, centered from edge to edge, and that's going to help us locate our angle piece, which is going to go flush with the very front of the nose. And by drawing a line that is centered from one end to the other, we can align it just right on the nose. Another thing I did after centering it was to draw a line that marks the outer edge of our two angle pieces we previously installed. That way we know the outer limit underneath of where these are located. I also drew a line halfway from the edge to the other edge down the middle, so that's the center. And the reason we did that is we're going to end up putting a couple of bolts on the center line on both sides that are going to ultimately attach this to the surface here. Now we need to mark a few other locations on this piece. And here's a quick summary of where we're going to drill the holes. These are the edges of our L angles underneath, and so from that edge, a 1/2 inch, we're going to mark a location for a hole, and then 3/4 inches in from that, and same with the other side, 1/2 inch in from the edge, and then 3/4 inch there, right on the center line. I'm going to leave those as 1/8 inch holes, and then on the face, this is going to attach to our engine ring. So I got this dimension off of the ring, 250 millimeters between this location and this location over here, centered from left to right, and a 1/2 inch down from the top. And those will be 1/4 inch holes. To the drill press. Back at the nose, we're going to take our angle, which is now pre-drilled, and place it on top, lining up the center line, and we got to keep it nice and flat and even with the very front So we take a board and just make sure that that's all in the exact right location. And then we're going to clamp this down securely and drill through the 4 holes so that we drill into exact locations into our angles below. And then we'll up drill to the final size of 1/4 inch for all of those for the 4 bolts. And there it is in place. I rounded off the corners. And we have temporary nuts in place because oftentimes we need to remove them. Now we're ready to attach the ring onto our mount. Now, as I previously explained, the rubber bushings have already been placed into the ring, and then we're going to use the supplied cap screw, and then on the other side is a nice standoff, and that is supplied by the Polini ring. And then this will fit into one of the holes, and we'll put a temporary nut on here. And at the opposite corner we have exactly the same hardware: the standoff, the cap screw, the rubber mount. And we'll put that on. And finger tight, and we're starting to make some progress. Next, we're going to take a piece of 6.5 inch long, 1/8 inch thick, and 1.5 by 1.5 inches, and we need to mark it for 3 holes. I found the center line, and then 65 millimeters on either side of the center line, and 1 in the middle, and then halfway up the flange. So 3 holes, and I'm going to drill these out to 1/4 inch. And here is my finished product, the 3 holes. Notice I cut the corners off. And let's go install this. Our bracket is going to fit along the top of our ring. Here's the 3 mounting holes. And we're going to use the same standoff hardware that we used before. I'll preload it here. And another one. We'll go here. And the last one will go here. Not like that. Like that. All right. And with our 3 holes, it's going to match up very nicely with our bracket. And the reason it's not fitting is these are metric, and we need a 5/16 hole for these bolts. Give me 1 second, I'll open them up. This should be much better. We're dealing with Polini from Italy. Everything is metric. Much easier to work with metric as far as measuring, as far as I'm concerned, rather than dealing with fractions of inches. And we go like that. and some temporary nuts. I'm going to put temporary nuts on one end and the other, but not the middle, and that's because, wait till you see what we're going to add to the middle standoff here. We're going to install one of our stainless steel brackets on our center standoff. Now, these bolts are 5/16 essentially in diameter, so I had to open up the hole, which was closer to 1/4, and use your drill press to open up that hole to 5/16. Stainless steel, fun to work with, of course. And so this leaves us now with a mounting bracket in the center. All right, and this is all just going to be finger tight temporary nuts. And as you can probably imagine now, this will allow us to take a tube and provide a very robust support from this point down here. So we need to talk about building our support here. In our next step, we want to drill a hole on top of this tube here. Now, it's going to be located between these two bolts, and hence I've drawn a line to indicate them, and we want it to be right in between, in the middle, and in the center from the other direction, straight down, and then we're going to drill all the way through to the other side. This will be the only hole that we drill, it's the only new hole that we're going to drill in our fuselage frame. Now, drilling the hole is easy. We want to make sure, though, that when we drill down through the bottom of the tube, that we keep our drill bit nice and straight. One technique for a straight drill through the bottom is to use a long drill bit, and this is just for the 1/8" starter hole. And when you go to drill, I drew a line, a vertical line back here that I can keep this straight with, so I have a guide to keep it nice and straight from left to right. And then as far as forward and aft, it's easy as I'm looking through this way at the gap between here and here. So finding that right spot on the bottom is easy by using these as a guide. And once we have the hole on the bottom, then when we enlarge this, and we're going to enlarge it up to 1/4 inch, we can always just feel and find the hole with the tip of our drill bit at the bottom. With the hole drilled all the way through, we can then install the purpose of this hole, which was to mount a stainless steel U-bracket into that hole. And we'll attach a nut at the bottom and secure this. Can you guess what is in mind when we have a bracket here and a bracket here? If you thought of a 1-inch tube, you're right on track. Now we need to leave at least a 1/2 inch beyond the mounting hole in each of the brackets. Now that makes a real strong connection there. So I always drill these in the drill press to get a nice straight through shot, and just drill one at a time and then mark the other end and drill. Easy peasy. Now we need to connect this and the one on the opposite side, and we need another set of stainless steel brackets which will connect right here. I removed the bolt that was here and inserted a slightly longer one and attached our stainless steel bracket. And there's one of these on the other side also. Now we want to move up and install another stainless steel bracket here using one of the supplied standoffs. You're going to need to drill out your stainless steel clamps from 1/4 inch to 5/16. And this is stainless steel, and you need a secure way to hold this while drilling. One way I found was to take one of your 1x2 inch rectangular tubes. This was used for the tail section of the fuselage, and the clamps fall very nicely over there. And now you have something to hold on to while drilling, and it makes it very safe and secure. Just one idea. So we have our hardware for the lower mount, our stainless steel bracket, which we have drilled out to 5/16 because of the metric bolt. Now we need to create a 1-inch tube that will span this location over to here. Now we have to install the one on the other side using the similar components and techniques.
Well, we just about ran out of time. We're almost done with the engine mount, not quite. Now, big news, starting with our next session, video session, they will no longer be located on YouTube. We are going to move the remainder of the building videos on the Affordaplane over to our Patreon website. We're about 90% done with the aircraft, and we have about 90% to go. Lots and lots of little details, very important ones. Now, we're going to finish the plane over there. We have to finish the engine mount, install the engine, test run the engine, propeller, all of that. Lots of stuff to do. We, of course, have to cover the plane. The good news is that the weight looks really good. We haven't covered the plane, but with the engine, the weight is right where it's supposed to be, so that's very exciting. One of the benefits of continuing over on Patreon is that we're able to answer individual questions. We have a lot more prototyping because this is the first time this engine has been used on this plane. So not all of the procedures will be as cut and dry as they were on the airframe. So we look forward to seeing those of you that are actually building over with us on Patreon, and we will continue there. So in the meantime, everyone, back to building.